Good evening. Lovely clear day, warm, humid. Brings back memories when I used to sit on the balcony with my father. And he had this habit, he'd try and make it every evening that any time between 6:30, 7:30, he would put two chairs out overlooking the city like this, put his legs up on the railing, and I would, this pint-sized fellow compared to him, and we'd say, sit, and generally start with a lot of silence. And I'll be looking here and there wondering, what am I supposed to be looking at? What is next coming onto me? Have I done something wrong that I'm going to get told off? In his own very gentle way of telling me off. But it wasn't like that. The interesting thing is he would just remain silent for a few minutes and then he'll say, what do you see? What did you notice? And he'll start with this series of questions about all what I could see, just like he could see. He would ask about the various colors. He'd ask about the different buildings, what could be sighted. And since my childhood has been in Hyderabad, he would point at the Charminar and ask me, what is that? He'd point towards the Falaknuma Palace and ask me, which building is that? And I would say at times, I don't know. And he'll say, why don't you know? And then he'll ask me, don't you want to know? Now, this is where he built curiosity inside me. He wouldn't tell me that is Charminar, that's Falaknuma, that's Salarjung Museum, that's the Golconda Fort. No. He would point in that direction, and at that time, at this height, we were a little higher. We could see the entire city 180 degrees, and we could see the Golconda Fort as well, which we can't see now because of all the construction that has happened. But he would point to that particular structure and ask me. And then he'll say, study about it, read about it, and the next time we sit down, I'll point to the same structure and you have to tell me what is it that you've studied. It doesn't have to be in depth, but you got to tell me what it is. And a little history if you can. And of course, I could read at that point of time. But the point I'm trying to make here is that his way of introducing certain subjects, his way of explaining things was very, very different. I've yet to see this kind of thing happen, but at least in my time, I never saw any of my teachers telling me the way he would tell me. And of course, each one have got their own style of teaching and, training somebody. But he had this unique thing, and he would expose me. His whole word for my education was exposure. And he would always say, there is no better way to learn than to experience with your own senses, which is your eyes, your ears, your nose, the touch and feel, and of course, your mouth, the tongue. But when it came to observing, he would always say, the more you observe with a seeking mind, the more you will draw closer to understanding what the world is all about. How is it created? Why is it there? Does it have a life cycle? And if it has a life cycle, what is the life cycle? And during that life cycle, what is it that we need to understand about it? And how do we function along with it? He would always talk about inclusiveness. I repeat, he would talk about inclusiveness, not exclusive. We are not exclusive. If you look at the whole world and the billions that are around, we are a tiny little speck, absolutely disposable. Nobody even bothers, nobody even knows you exist or I exist. But to the extent we can see, that is a part of our world. So are we inclusive or are we exclusive? Do we make things inclusive or do we make things exclusive? That depends on our mindset. But if you are a true seeker and you want to learn, you want to grow as a human being, with the idea to seek, not show off, but to seek, to understand it better so that you can operate in a more efficient manner without abusing anything that nature has created. By valuing what nature has given us, by valuing what certain people have done good in this world. appreciating people around us rather than criticizing and negating them at every point of time. So I come as far as possible, I try and come and sit out here, look at this skyline. You see the cloud behind me? That's not a cumulonimbus cloud. As an example, he would point to the cloud and say, which cloud is that? What have you studied in school? Is it that cloud? Is it the Sirius cloud? Is it the cumulonimbus cloud? So, friends, do you have that seeking mind through observation? Do you have that seeking attitude? By getting exposed and exposing your children, if you have any, rather than throwing them on somebody else, but you being involved in their growth process, in their seeking journey, making them realize what seeking is and the benefits of seeking the right information at the right time for the right reason. Beautiful, isn't it? And you don't need words, you just need to observe. You will get your answers. Be the seeker you need to be. Have a great evening.